I want to tell you how taking full accountability without blame for my past relationship failures not only made me more confident and content with myself, but also made it possible for me to end up in a healthy marriage I never could have had without that change. As a recovering people pleasing nice guy, this shift didn't come easy, but it changed everything. About a decade ago, I was in a loveless, disconnected marriage that lasted over 20 years. I felt emasculated, undermined, and invisible. After attempts to work on the marriage were met with indifference, I finally decided that divorce was the only way out. I was then met with chaos and vitriol. After that, I got into a drama-filled, hot and cold relationship from hell, unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. I was cheated on. One minute there was affection, the next minute emotional abuse. Eventually, I ended that too. I was angry, really angry for a while at both of these women. But underneath the anger, there was something deeper, a kind of desperation, a knowing that if I stayed in the blame game, I was going to repeat it all over again. So I made a decision. I chose to take full accountability, not to blame myself for everything, because not everything was my fault. I want to make that clear, but to own my part, because I was the one consistent factor in all those failed relationships. And there were others before those two as well. I knew that if I didn't learn something from everything I'd been through, all that pain, I'd be stuck living the same story with different characters. My life was on the line. I really did feel that way. Maybe not literally, but emotionally, spiritually. I couldn't keep going through this life disconnected from myself like this. And at that point, I no longer respected myself either. That desperation became fuel. I started running 5 miles a day, 6 days a week, just to burn off the anger and think straight. And while I ran, I listened to every podcast and video I could find about attachment styles, masculinity, dating, people-pleasing, nice guy syndrome. I devoured it all because I needed to understand what had gone wrong, not just in the relationships, but in me. I was desperate to change this. I joined a men's group. I went to a weekend-long men's retreat. I started doing recovery exercises specifically focused on nice guy patterns, stuff I hadn't even known existed years before. And for the first time in my life, I lived alone. No dating, no distractions, just me sorting through the wreckage. And something started to shift. The shame I'd carried for years, the feeling that I was broken, that I wasn't enough, like I'd done something wrong, that all started to fade. I felt more grounded, more confident. I wasn't trying to prove anything to anyone anymore. I realized I was better off alone than with the wrong woman. Eventually, I got to a place where I kind of wanted to date again. I was a little bit scared about it, but I wanted to try it. But this time, I was different. I eventually started dating someone I was truly interested in. I wasn't trying to be liked. I wasn't trying to perform or earn someone's approval. I wasn't needy. I didn't text her all the time. I wasn't asking, does she like me? Or, how can I get her to like me? Instead, I was asking, do I like her? Does she bring something meaningful into my life? Or does she bring me any pain or drama? I showed up as a man with a plan. I flirted. I kissed her at the end of the first date. I kept moving forward with clarity, not neediness. I didn't hide my intentions. If it didn't work out, then it didn't work out. I knew I would be okay. I didn't need to be with someone else. But I was interested in a mutually respectful, healthy relationship, if that was even possible. I'd never really had a great relationship before. But that mindset is what helped me to be in the right headspace to meet the woman who's now my wife. The old me never could have had the relationship I have with her. And honestly, she probably would have lost interest in me if I'd behaved like the old me did. I want to go back to that issue of blame I mentioned at the beginning. As I said, the women in my past failed relationships were partially to blame too. There's always two sides to relationships. I realize that. So wouldn't my future love life have benefited more if I had focused a little less on improving myself and maybe a little more on identifying red flags so I could avoid them? No, I don't believe so. It's valuable to learn about relationship red flags. There's nothing wrong with that. But I actually found that when I improved myself, my confidence, self-respect, feeling I didn't need to be with someone to be happy, my standards changed and my red flag detector indirectly improved as well. I wasn't approaching relationships from a low place of fear and inadequacy anymore. I decided, and I don't mean this arrogantly, that I was the prize. And I needed to think that way for a change because it had always been flipped around the other way in my mind. I needed to like them and they needed to bring something to my life or I wasn't interested. This mindset improved my BS and drama detector. I wasn't going to contort myself into someone I wasn't anymore. I had done that enough. I wasn't going to tolerate being disrespected anymore either. Fortunately, none of those issues arose. Our relationship really progressed naturally. It was fun and there was no drama. It was interesting too. After we'd been together for a while, we talked about whether it would have been nice if we'd met decades earlier because we are a great match. But we both concluded that we needed to go through the life experiences we both went through before we met each other, or we wouldn't have shown up to meet each other as the people we had become. Fast forward to today. Hey, I'm still not perfect. I still have moments where I catch myself falling back into old habits just a little bit, but I'm aware of them now. I can see them coming and I know how to course correct before they take over. And none of that would have been possible if I'd stayed focused on them, what they did, how they hurt me, how unfair it all was. Blame might feel justified, and sometimes it is, but I learned it won't help you grow and it definitely won't protect you from repeating the same mistakes. Accountability isn't about guilt. It's about empowering yourself. It's about finally stepping into the driver's seat of your own life and not letting people from the past have power over you. And if you're tired of relationship misery on repeat, that's where the real work starts. Be sure to subscribe if you like content like this and let me know what you think about this in the comments. Thanks for watching.